Alright, dear children, we go to the next topic, an important topic for examination also, that is charging an object. Charging and what? Object. Means every object is made up of atoms, okay? And when the object is not charged, the net charge or the total charge in an atom or in that object will be zero. And we call that atom as an uncharged object. We call that object as an what? Uncharged object. Okay. But we can charge an uncharged object as positive charge or what charge? Negative charge. Means we can make an object as either positive charge or we can make an object as what? Negative charge. So this process of charging an object can be discussed in three different ways. So there are three different methods or ways in which we can charge the object. So one is called charging by friction, another is called charging by conduction, and one is called charging by induction. So I am just highlighting out here that there are basically three ways in which the object can be charged. So, but remember this part, when the object is charged, okay, it is the electron. See, this is a very important part. It is the electron, not the proton, plays a very important role, okay, to make the charge object to be charged, either negative or positive. The proton, as you know, always present inside the nucleus. Proton cannot be ejected, cannot remove from the nucleus of an atom. But electron, you know, they are always revolve around the nucleus. And electrons are also revolved in the different orbits. These are also called cells. Okay. But in order to make the object to be charged, it is simply the transfer of electrons. Okay, that plays a very important role to make the object to be charged either positive or what? Negative. That's why when an object is charged, it is only the electrons that can move in or out of an atoms. So we can make electron, we can give the electron or we can take out the electron from the atoms. So that this transfer of electrons or giving out or giving in the electrons, okay, plays a very important role to make the object to be charged. Okay, that's why when an object is charged, it is only the electrons that can move in or out of an atoms, thus leaving the object negative or positive charge. Next, the proton, as I said already, are tightly bound in the nucleus, and hence they cannot leave an atom. Means proton cannot leave the atom, and proton does not play a role that to make the object to be charged either positive or negative. But electron always play a very important role to make the object to be charged positive or negative. Now next, an object can be charged by the following method. So what are the methods in which the object can be charged? Number one is by conduction, another by friction, and another one by charging by what? Induction. So as I said, there are three ways or method in which the object can be charged. One is called conduction, charging by conduction, another is charging by friction. Charging by friction means even charging by rubbing each other, and another one is charging by induction. Charging by what? Induction. Now we try to understand what is charging by conduction. The charging by conduction, children, is one of the process of charging an uncharged object. What object? Uncharged object, by touching it, by touching that uncharged object to an electrically charged object. Electrical what object? Charged object. And this process is called charging by what? Conduction. So when I use the word conduction, conduction means the object has to be charged. Okay, by touching with the uncharged charged object. Means we take a charged object, either positive or negative charge, and when we touch that charged object to an uncharged object, then that uncharged object also becomes charged, either positive or negative. And this process is called charging by conduction. Okay, charging by what? Conduction. Now in order to understand in detail about charging by conduction, so let me just tell you that a charged object, suppose there is a charged object, contain an excess of either protons or electron. There is excess of either proton or what? Electrons. If there is an excess of protons, then that charge is a positive charge. When there is an excess of electron, then that charge becomes a what charge? Negative charge. Okay, that's why an object with an excess of electron will be a negative charge, and one with an excess of proton will be positive charge. Yes, you have already learned this when we defined electric charges are two types. One is called positive charge, one is called negative charge. Now a body acquire a positive charge or negative charge also means there is a lack of electron or excess of electrons. Now just to tell you again that when a body is a positive charge object, when a charged body is a positive charge, then there is a shortage of electrons. There is a shortage of what? Electron. Shortage of electron is also called lack of electrons. Okay. But when such an object is brought in touch with an uncharged or neutral object, for that you can see figure 10.8.1010A. That means this is the figure. Okay. So in this figure, if you see, this is an uncharged metal object. So this is an uncharged metal object placed on an insulating stand. Okay, where the charge cannot flow. Okay. So this is an uncharged metal object which is placed on an insulating stand. Okay. But when this uncharged metal object is touched by a positively charged metal rod, so this is a metal rod. This is a positively charged what rod? Metal rod. So when there is a positive charged metal rod, means definitely there is a lack of what? Electrons. There is a lack of electrons in this positive charged metal rod. Okay. So as soon as you touch this positive charged metal rod with an uncharged metal rod, then what happened? The electron flow from uncharged object to a positive charged object. That means the electron flow from uncharged metal object to metal rod to what? Positive charged metal rod. Because this metal rod has electron less than the electron present in this metal rod. Okay. So usually what happens when this positive charged metal rod is touched with the uncharged metal rod, then there is a shortage of electrons out here. So that in that case what happens? The electron is flow from uncharged metal rod to the what? Positive charged metal rod. That's why you can see in the diagram there is a flow of electron. This arrow head show that the flow of electron from uncharged metal rod to positive charged metal rod. So under this case what happens? When an uncharged object gives some electron to the positive charged metal rod, then there is also a deficiency of electrons, or lack of electron takes place in uncharged metal rod other than the protons. So in that case also this uncharged metal rod now become what charge? Positive charge. Because any body or metal or substance become positive charge by losing the electron, by giving the electrons. So who is giving the electron? The uncharged metal rod to the positive charge metal rod. So that this become what? Also positive charge. That's why when positive charge metal rod is touched with uncharged metal rod, then this uncharged metal rod also become what charge? Positive charge by conduction. So that's why what happened? Due to the what? The loss of electrons, the uncharged object become positive charge. The charged object become less positive due to gain of electron. So due to gain of electron by this positive charge metal rod, this charged metal rod become less positive. That's why you can see there are 4 positive charges, but by gaining the electrons it become only 1 positive charge in a positive charge metal rod. Whereas this uncharged metal rod become now positive charge. Become what charge? Positive charge. On the other hand, the process can be opposite also. It's not that necessary that you have to touch positive charge metal rod to the uncharged metal rod. Okay. So we can touch with negative charge metal rod to the uncharged metal rod also. In that case also, that uncharged metal rod become a negative charge also. So that's why on the other hand, if a negative charge object, means a metal rod which has excess of electrons, is brought in contact with an uncharged object, uncharged object, the excess electrons from that charged object flow to the uncharged object. So it will, in this case the process will just opposite. Let me just show you out here, showing this diagram, the negative charge. So if you touch this negative charge with an what? Uncharged metal rod, then this excess of electron from negative charge metal rod will flow to the uncharged metal rod. That means this uncharged metal rod gain the electrons, and when any substance which gain the electron means that also become what? Negative charge. That's why due to the what? Gain of electron by uncharged metal rod, the uncharged object become negative charge. Means this object become what charge? Negative charge. Thus the charge of object become less negative due to loss of electron. So due to loss of electron, whatever number of negative charge develop out here, that will be reduces. Okay, due to what? The charge which is given by the what? This positive negative charge metal rod to the what? Uncharged metal rod. But in this process, and the example which I gave you, just remember this much, that when a positive charge metal rod is touched with the uncharged metal rod, then that uncharged metal rod also become what charge? Positive charge. When negative charge on metal rod is touched with the uncharged metal rod, then that negative uncharged metal rod also become what charge? Negative charge, but by the process called conduction. But in case of conduction, children, remember that the charged object should be touched with an uncharged object. So without touching, you cannot make the uncharged metal rod as positive or negative charge in case of conduction. Okay. That's why if the object that is to be charged is a good conductor of electricity, like metal, we are using metal rod, okay, is a good conductor of electricity, then the charge spread to all part of its surface. The charge spread to all part of the surface. But if it is an insulator, the charge remain at the place where the contact is made. So that means in case of charging by conduction, we can make uncharged object which is a metal rod which is a good conductor electricity, or uncharged object we take as an insulator which is a bad conductor electricity. But in both the case, whether it's an insulator or conductor, we can make the that uncharged metal uncharged object as positive charge or what charge? Negative charge. But the only difference in this case is that if this is a good conductor electricity, just like metal rod, after touching the charged object with the uncharged object, then the uncharged object become positive or negative charge, but that charge will be spread over the whole surface. Where if it is an insulator, then charge remain in that particular place only. So this is the main part in case of charging an object by conduction. So this is one of the way in which the object can be charged by what? Conduction. Now the next process, that is called charging by what? Friction. And charging by friction is also one of the process of charging an uncharged object only by rubbing it. By rubbing that uncharged object against some other suitable material. Okay, suitable material by friction. And this process is called charging by what? Friction. Like the example I gave you, if we rub comb with the what? Dry hair, then that comb acquire what charge? Positive charge or negative charge. That is by what? Friction. Charging by what? Friction. So this method is mainly used for insulator. This is basically used for what? Insulator. So charging by friction is basically applied for insulator. That's why comb is also an insulator. That's why you can see the example of charging by friction are rubbing a glass rod with silk. Glass rod and silk both are insulator. We can make glass rod and silk both are charged, either positive or what charge? Negative charge. But by rubbing with each other. Similarly, rubbing an ebonite rod with wool. Ebonite rod is insulator. Wool is also insulator. So when you rub each other, then both ebonite rod and wool acquire positive or negative charge. Okay, that means charging by friction basically based on rubbing two substances which are insulator, which are what? Insulator. But in case of charging by friction, there is a transfer of electron from one object to another object. So when there is a transfer of electron, means one object lose the electron, become positive charge, and another object gain the electron and become what charge? Negative charge. That's why when two different material, like especially insulator, are rubbed each other, then one insulator acquire positive charge by losing the electron, means other insulator acquire negative charge by gaining the electron. And this process is called charging by what? Friction. Charging by what? Friction. And the example of this charging by friction, okay, and charging by induction, you learn in the next YouTube video.